If you want to see change in your child's eating habits without pressure, constant mealtime battles, or the shame you grew up with, you're in the right place. Welcome to Family in Focus. I'm Dr. Wendy Schofer, the pediatrician helping parents lead meaningful change without harm. Here we focus on the connection and practical shifts that help families thrive at every size. Let's get started. For years in the pediatrics office, I found myself saying, it's not about the food, it's not about the weight, it's not even about the child. And yet, when you're struggling with how to create change in your family's eating habits, this is what it's really about. I mean, let's be honest. As parents, we're concerned about what it is that we see. We're concerned about the eating habits, the food choices, maybe even how our kids are growing. That is normal. We get to see them up close and personal every day, and we love them dearly. We want to make sure that they are on the right path to lifelong health. We also have our own concerns for our own experiences and journey and health, and we want to make sure that we're learning from what we've experienced and we're imparting only the best for our children. Absolutely. Your heart is in the right place. Here's the thing though. We are really being exposed to so many messages in our culture, honestly, in our medical practices, in daily conversations, and most definitely on social media about what's on the outside, about what we see, about what we can measure. And so that's why there is so much of a focus on weight, on body mass index. Okay, we can do a little bit of a calculation with the weight and the height. We can figure that out, but we can see it on the outside with a little bit of math. We can see the eating habits. But here's the thing that misses everything that's going into it. If we're just looking at what's on the surface, we don't see what's underneath. And that is why harm is being done. So think about it this way. Weight is kind of like at the very tip of an iceberg. It's what you see up top. We got to go deeper to be able to understand what's actually behind the scenes under the surface. So that means that we have to slow down and really get curious. What else is going on? A number of factors. So for one thing, let's just consider genetics. We all have our genes and genetic influences about why we do different things, but also how we grow. Noticing that our family of origin may give us a lot of clues about body sizes and how they grow. We also have environment. So the environment that perhaps your family is growing up in, we also share that. It's not just genes, can have a lot of influence on eating habits and growth. So that environment may be the accessibility of food, whether it's something that maybe you live in a food desert, and so there may not be fresh foods that are available, or perhaps there's just not enough food, or perhaps you live in an environment where there's just food available all the time. And so how does that influence eating habits and again, growth that we just see at the very tip? So being aware, environment matters. The other thing is thinking about social cues. Now that could be a part of what's around in the environment, but let's also think about the people and the social aspects. So how about parties? How about social events? When we come together, and it is very normal for us as humans to come together and say, welcome, let's eat. I mean, come on, welcome, let's have some coffee together. It's social cues. When we come together, we will enjoy, we will communion, eating together. It is something that is very normal and very human. It is another factor to consider as we're looking at our eating habits. We also have patterns of hormones. And so they are underneath the surface, and we have to get really curious to understand a lot more about the influence that different foods have on our hormones and perhaps how our hormones are influencing our food choices as well. And then lastly, there is the influence of emotions. This is the part that we've really been missing because if you were raised like I was, it was like there's a time and a place for emotions, and it's never here and it's never now. And so we've just kind of been ignoring emotions in the background. And yet they are totally in the background. They are always operating, and how much our emotions are influencing our eating habits. It's not, just when you're having that emotional eating, we are all emotional eaters because our emotions really drive our behaviors, our actions. So, how often we come together again in communion, we are celebrating, which is often a good emotion, and then we eat together. And then there are other times that we don't feel good, frustrated, irritated, tired, and we turn to food to be able to feel better. So there's a lot of different factors that can contribute to what it is that we're seeing, on the surface. Let me share a story about how that iceberg metaphor, if you will, is really playing out in real life. So, a few years ago, I met a 16-year-old girl in the office. She wanted to get a sports physical done. And I had not met her before, so I did the crash course on her record. I also looked at her vitals and her growth as I do for every single child before I go into the office. And I saw that she had been consistently growing over the 95th percentile for her weight, for her height, for her body mass index, and that she had been increasing with her weight growth velocity over the last year since my colleagues had seen her. And so I took that information and I just kind of put it aside and I walked into the office and greeted her and her mother and just started off and said, "Hey, what concerns do you have about growth, about habits, about your health?" And she looked at me and right away she said, "I'll lose weight when I feel like it." I had this moment where I realized that she was bringing a lot with her to meet me. And I also saw how she just kind of released, kind of like just relaxed a little bit when she heard me say, "Who says you have to lose weight?" I wonder if that was the first time that she had ever heard that. Now, I knew what was going on with her growth curves. I saw how there was increasing growth velocity. But here's the thing. If I just come in and just look at that, just address that, I'm missing everything underneath the surface, which includes everything else that she's bringing in there with her, which sounds like a lot of weight stigma, a lot of shame, a lot of being tired of hearing the same things from everyone else. And so I focused on something that we're going to be walking through over the course of our time together. It was about building connection, connecting person to person. I want to just learn more about her. Who is she? This is our first time meeting. Tell me about you. What do you enjoy? What do you like to do? Found out that she's a tremendous artist. She loves art. Tell me more. Let me understand more about what's working again underneath the surface. Because that's where we really are. It's not just in our weight, in our appearance, or necessarily the actions that we see on the outside. There is so much more to us under the surface, and we need to slow down and we have to really get curious and connect to really be able to understand that. Now, I'm going to be very honest with everyone. We did not create some kind of, overhaul plan that day. We did not specifically dial in on how to change her growth because the most important part was for us to be able to connect. It's not about me coming in and telling her how she has to change. She's already heard that repeatedly. By the way, it's not helping anything. It's not helping her at all. So much of the focus that I now have in the office, in the community, in my family, in this practice with Family in Focus is about creating connection. And for this particular patient, it really looked like being able to say, you know what? I see you. I'm on the same team with you. And I'm not just coming in telling you what to do. This is how we get to create change without harm. It is first by connecting human to human, parent to child, by being the one person that sees who you really are, what's beneath the surface, connecting with emotions. And I get it. This can be very new. Okay. Again, I was raised in a place where there was a time and a place for emotions, and it was never here, never now. It's a new conversation. And that's why we're going to work through it together. So I invite you specifically to come and join me on the next episode where we're going to be breaking down the Family in Focus framework and really starting to understand the steps that I use every single time I'm working with a parent, if I'm working with the child, if I'm working with my family members, and also how I am applying it for myself. So come check out that episode. If you'd like support putting this into practice in your home, come learn how I work with families at wendyschofermd.com. Remember, while I'm a doctor, I am not your doctor. This podcast is for education, not medical advice. It's never prescriptions, so you can take what fits and please leave all the rest. And parents, please remember, you are creating the change your family needs. Welcome to the movement.